everybody. My name is Mike Moore. I'm a businessman in Dallas, Texas, and author of the book, Love God, Hate Church, Moving Past the Do's and Don'ts. Now, you may think, man, that's kind of a whacked out title. Well, you know what it is, and it's supposed to be. Because what it talks about is God's unconditional love and mercy and grace and compassion and forgiveness and non-judgment, which are the attributes that He is that can change the human heart. Rules, regulations, restrictions, they can't do it. But God's unconditional love can. And we're going to show you later on in the program how you can obtain some copies of Love God, Hate Church. And it's good for yourself to read, give it to your spouse, give it to people that you know maybe have left the church, the institution. They haven't left the body of Christ, but they've left the institution, or maybe some millennials or people you're trying to lead to Christ. It's a great gift for them. So we're excited today to have on our show a good friend. He's one of the best personal trainers in the United States of America. He's a massage therapist. He's a nutritionist. He's an inventor of products dealing with nutrition and an exercise physiology. And welcome to the show, a good friend and an amazing man of faith, Mr. Shelby Johnson. Shelby, welcome, my brother.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Yeah, man, it's good. I'm glad you're here, man.
Man, I'm honored to be here beside you.
Well, thanks, man. It's funny, we were talking earlier, people asked us how we met. So I pulled up to a gym in Dallas with my car, and I kind of parked it out front, and I walked in, and this huge 6.4, like black man comes to me, and he goes, "Say, bro," he goes, "I like your car." I go, "Wow, thanks, man, I appreciate that." He goes, "Well, where did you get it?" I said, "Well, it's a gift from my daddy." He goes, "Wow, that's pretty cool." Because what's your daddy do? I said, "He's a CEO of a big company." And Shelby goes, "Well, what company?" I said, "The universe." And that's kind of how we met. It's been history ever since, right?
We've been together ever since, man.
Yeah. So Shelby, question. You, being as good as you are as a massage therapist, as a personal trainer, you're in houses, you're in gyms all over the Metroplex, in Dallas-Fort Worth, all over the state. And you meet people, you meet the ultra wealthy, you meet middle class, you meet lower, you meet different color, different races, creeds, you meet tons of people. As a man of God, as a person that has trusted Jesus Christ for his salvation, when you're in these environments, what do you see is one of the biggest fears holding people back from maybe bringing God back into the marketplace or being open to talk about them?
Mike, that's a good question. I struggled like that practically half my life. Just going into people's homes, you get to see how the husband treats the wife and how the wife responds back to the husband. And not even just them two, but you got the crumb snatchers. I call my kids my crumb snatchers. It's having a personal relationship. I've learned just going to church to try to find a relationship. But I learned that I have to have the relationship first before I go to church. And so that allowed me to not to carry my feelings on my shoulders when someone offend me into the church. And so I learned just being around people who are lost. There's a lot of people who are lost who just go to church. Growing up, with a mom and a grandmother. My grandmother was the backbone of our family. And she always told me that I had a calling on my life. And she said, the only way you're gonna know your calling is that you have to learn how to deal with conflict. And so being a personal trainer, I go in to a lot of homes and I deal with a lot of conflict. Not just with the physical body, but with the mind itself.
And you can see that, like when you're training somebody, can you see, man, emotionally there's something different? You can see more than the physical when you're training somebody, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, a lot of people say one thing with their mouth, but action speaks louder than words. I can just hear somebody who's screaming for help, because your body speaks what's called nonverbal communication. Your body speaks to me while you're saying something verbally, but is actually nonverbal speaking to me. So I can tell by you carrying so much stress, where your relationship is.
So when you're training somebody and you're putting them through usually an hour routine and they're doing one exercise to the other, are you also talking to them about their life, the wholeness of their life? Are you talking to them about spiritual things? You talking to them about, their diet? Like what would it look like to train with you? Now, that whole man that gets a workout.
I don't just go in and, you have to be careful with that because a lot of people don't want to talk about God. I have to, personalize it. So I do assessment first, just to feel them out, just to see what do they want, what kind of results do they want to get, how are they eating. So once I start to do that, I build a personal relationship with the person so they can feel comfortable with me. And once I do that, then I take them to certain stages of your own body, how your own body functions. Because a lot of people don't know how their body functions.
Do you think, Shelby, that if a person's in shape, that's going to affect their spirituality? Do you think believers that actually believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross, was buried and resurrected, those people that put their trust and faith in Jesus, do you believe people that are in shape physically, that affects them on a spiritual level in any way?
Oh yeah, it really does. Appearance is number one. How you feel about yourself. That's very attractive, and that's drawing.
Yeah.
A lot of people want something that the other person have, but the key component is that they don't know what they went through to get it. And a lot of people don't want to go through that process.
Right.
The miracle happens in the process, but a lot of people don't want to go do it to get it. They want the microwave.
Right.
They want it really quick. And so they don't want to have, Jesus comes to tell us that you have to endure what he had to endure to have what he has. And that's personal.
Right.
There are certain things that I went through that's personal from the other person. I'm not related to you, but I can relate to you because certain things that we've gone through. We don't have the same mom, but we have the same father. And I'm talking about spiritually father.
Right.
And so once we get that connections, there's no difference between the spirit or the color or the distance. And so that's one thing I'm learning with our father.
Yeah, and listen, I'm colorblind, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people don't say, what do you mean you're colorblind? Well, there's human beings. There's people that have put their faith and trust in Jesus and actually get that and really want to understand what their true identity is from him, and there's people that don't. And they're pre-Christians. So you spend time with both. In about 30 seconds, you spend time with both. What's the major difference between that two categories when you train people?
That's hard to say. Depends on, because a lot of people don't know how I was raised, and so you can't say that, that I understand how things were for you. You really don't know.
Right.
So it's hard for me to understand how things for you. It's like, the color is you might not see a color, but I do see a color because walking down the street and you see somebody lock the door, or you see somebody grip onto so I'm dressed nice, and I still get that. But that's the sad part about it.
And I want to, I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to take a break. But after the break, I want you to articulate a lot more about what you just said, because I think you just got to turn on the TV. You got to look at the internet. You just got to, open your eyes to see what's going on in our culture based on the elections and everything else that's happening, in the world today. And I want to get your take on that. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Shelby Johnson. Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Moore. I'm a businessman in Dallas, Texas, and author of the book, Love God, Hate Church, Moving Past the Do's and Don'ts. This book exalts the unconditional love of God above the rules and regulations and restrictions that most, not all churches, put on people. This is a great book for people you're trying to bring back to church, bring back to Christ, for millennials, for neighbors. You want to buy this book for yourself. Buy a box, give it away, because it's a way to get the message of unconditional love that we have in Christ to the world.
Mike Moore's Love God, Hate Church book is available for your donation of $20 to Uplift TV. Go to upliftoffer.com or call 844-7-UPLIFT. That's 844-787-5438 or order at upliftoffer.com.
Welcome back. Our goal at Uplift TV is to provide you with a unique family-friendly environment unlike any other network. We have formed the Uplift TV Foundation to help foster the work of the gospel through the creation of Christian movies, documentaries, and TV series. And here we are back with our guest, Shelby Johnson. Shelby has a website, nexthale.com. I love that you wear that, man. It's like you might as well get that. Who's going to advertise for
That's
you
right.
unless you do it by yourself, right? So, Shelby, before the break, you said something I love. You said, you know what? I do see color. Because, you know, I could be dressed up in a Armani suit or whatever, and there's things that are going on, like we talked about with the elections and protests and you know, the police being killed and black lives being killed and Black Lives Matter and all lives matter and white lives matter. As a believer and follower, Shelby, of Jesus of Nazareth, talk to us about what's your experience. You're out in the marketplace like me. Our professional worlds are different. We all live in four worlds, right? We live in a public world, a professional world, a personal world, and a private world. And our professional worlds are different because I'm in money management and you're in, you know, exercise physiology, so we meet different people. So this whole Black Lives Matter movement as a believer and what you see, just talk to us about what your feelings are on this.
You know, as a black man, growing up, life was really hard. And today is still hard for us. And I speak for my family. Growing up, watching my grandmother, you know, pick cotton, you know, because I wasn't too old where I saw her pick cotton. And watch my mom go through the things that she went through with relationships and trying to find herself. And just dealing with society itself is really hard. So putting those two worlds together and then coming out, getting a degree or trying to provide for our family, it's hard because the cards are stacked against us anyway. And so it's especially for even an athlete or a businessman. So we really got to stay prayed up. And the one thing that my grandmother always told me.
By the way, I love what you just said, man.
Yeah.
I really do. Two things. Thank you for being so real and authentic. That's what I love about you, Shelby. And then what you just said about being prayed up. Come on, man.
Right.
That's cool.
You got to, because that's one thing my grandmother told me. She said, a family that prays together stays together. And so at the end of the day, all you have is your word.
Yeah.
And so the one thing I do is keep my word, regardless of what relationship I'm in. I don't choose sides because all the enemy wants us to do is be ignorant. That's all he wants to do. But if we look at the whole, the core of it, the one thing that Jesus Christ said is to love. You know, love. So how can I love you if I don't know love? You know, I have what you call a distorted vision, the way I was raised. And everything starts out as the little boy. And so the little boy grows up and has a dysfunction with himself because I don't have a personal relationship knowing who I am. My identity is lost. And so society doesn't help, you know, because, you know, it's only, to me, it only tilts to one side.
Yeah, so we get, like you said, a little boy gets offended, right? No matter who offends him, whether it's their parents or, you know, school bullies, and we grow up and we want to protect that little boy now. So we all grow up with this, you know, self-protective mechanism. I'm gonna protect that wound that somebody's trying to hurt me again. But then we, like you said, and you articulate really well, and you've shared this with me before, that's the person we carry into the marketplace.
Right.
Is that wounded guy, say you ain't gonna touch him. So how can I love you when I'm trying to protect myself, right?
Right.
I can't do it.
But not even that, Mike. I carry that into the church.
Yeah, man, come on.
I carry it into the church, and then I expect the pastor to deliver that from me. But one thing my grandmother always told me, she said, baby, I can deliver you, but I can take you to the altar. Take you to the altar and say, you have to ask it for yourself. I can't do it for you.
So what's the church, like there's a ton of Christian churches out, and we're not talking about the body of Christ church. We're talking about the institution. Well, what you've seen, Shelby, what's the church today lacking to free people to walk out the unconditional love of God that I wrote about in Love God, Hate Church?
Not allowing them to be themselves.
Wow. Delineate more.
For me to go in, because the one thing, I grew up as a little boy, I struggled with rewriting and spelling. I had a learning disability. And so for me to go to church, I didn't want to go to church. I was pushed to go to church. And I thank my mom and my grandma for that. But just being pushed to go to church, but I never saw Jesus Christ. I just saw church in God. And there's so many gods now.
Yeah, come on.
So you got to be clarified that
Right.
Jesus is my God.
Right, come on,
That's the first thing I got to say. Out of his name is Jesus. And so being deceived like that as a little boy, imagine, at 8 years old, you coming home for 8 years. 8 years you coming home. Yeah. And you calling the man that you see daddy, and there's mama. But one day I come home and there's another man sitting over there on the couch. And my mom says this to me, well, the man that you've been calling daddy for 8 years is not your daddy. That's your daddy over there. Well, how did that happen? See, no one taught me to deal with my emotions or my feelings. So what I did, I kept them to myself.
So basically, what you're saying is when you say I kept them to myself, all men, all people, we hide. So you will never get to know me.
Right.
So I'm going to let you get to know what I want you to know about me. Yeah, I go to church every week, man. I teach a Sunday school. But you don't know that maybe in private, this guy's looking at pornography. He's destroying his life by doing this. He's doing drugs and no one knows about it, right? But we hide because we can't be real enough to share our emotions. Okay, give me 1 minute response. How can we change that in our churches today so we can be more real and authentic?
The only way you change it is that you have to have a vision of who God created you to be. You got to have that image. I can't say that I want to be successful if I don't know what success looks like.
Yeah.
Success is not having a big car, a lot of money in a bank account, fancy, living arrangements. Success is where God shows me inside of myself. Selah. The Bible says Selah. My eyes are never made to see out. They're made to see in.
That's good.
So if I can see something greater in me, that he is in me, than in this world, then that's success. But the hard part is that I got to be able to surround myself with the right mind of people.
And so 30 seconds, give us one word. How do we do that? Just a quick, for the audience, how do we do that?
You got to have faith. Faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I just heard the other day somebody said, you know what faith is? It's believing the unreasonable. Right? Because if we can figure it out on our own, we don't need faith.
Right.
But if it's too big for us, we go, I can't get this done. God's going, great, I can.
Right.
And you are an amazing example of that because I've watched you walk this out with your family and in the marketplace. Everybody, we have been talking to Shelby Johnson. You want to go to nextsail.com, look at his website, and this man has really given us some things to chew on. Thank you so much, Shelby, for being here, bro. Thank you, Shelby.
Thank you, bro.
So here's more information on the book, Love God, Hate Church, and how you can support Uplift TV. Come on, stay in your seats, don't leave. We have more with Shelby Johnson. Hello, my name is Mike Moore. I'm a businessman in Dallas, Texas, and author of the book, Love God, Hate Church. Why did I write this book? Because in my travels globally around the world, here's what I've seen. People are leaving the institutional church and they think maybe they've left God. And I wrote this book to say, you haven't left God because you've left a building. It talks about God's unconditional love and grace and mercy and forgiveness and non-judgment for us, which is the only thing that can change the human heart, not a rule.
Mike Moore's Love God, Hate Church book is available for your donation of $20 to Uplift TV. Go to upliftoffer.com or call 844-7-UPLIFT. That's 844-787-5438 or order at upliftoffer.com.
Welcome back. As a viewer-supported channel, Uplift TV features an equal balance of Christian movies and ministries as Christ taught with parables and sermons. This program will give you a unique opportunity to partner with Uplift TV to bring more Christian movies, documentaries, and TV series not available on most channels. So here we are, more with Mike Moore and Shelby Johnson. So Shelby, we got a few minutes left. What could you share, again, with the TV audience on what, as a businessman in the marketplace, believing what you believe and doing what you do, how could you encourage them as they're sitting down listening to you?
The one thing I would say to Mike, man, to viewers and just to yourself, is that just know who you are. That is the bottom line. Regardless what you go through, what you're coming out of, all of that is designed to build what God has in store for you, because he says he has his kingdom in you. But you got to go through something in order to pull it out.
Yeah.
My problem with my wife or my problems with my friend is not the problem with them. It's for me to see the best in them, because he said to my wife, he says, I'll give you the better for worse.
Yeah.
But if the problem that I see inside of myself is always the problem that I see, she's not the problem.
And it's easy, like you're saying, to blame when we don't want to look at ourselves, right? And, we were talking, during the break, on this book, Love God, Hate Church. It covers most of the data we've talked about, about church and why people can't be real, why they can, and the whole bit. And here's what I've seen, Shelby. This book's been out about 7 months now, and is millennials that have left the building but haven't left God. This gives them hope. For people that are maybe in church right now, and inside you're bored to tears, and you're going, I can't let people know what I'm really like, what's really going on, because they're going to judge me. Read this book. Give it to people. Give it to your neighbors. I'm really not an evangelist. I have a hard time, sharing my faith with people. Shelby, this is a great way for people to share their faith just by going, would you read a book like this? And they look at the title, Love God, Hate Church. Yeah, I may. I was in London, and I was in a pub with some clients, and I had a copy of this book, and I asked this lady behind, it was one of the pub, porters, whatever. She had tats all over her. She looked great, all these tattoos, all colored up and a whole bit. But I said, hey, I gave her this book. I said, would you read this? She looked and she goes, Love God, Hate Church. She goes, I don't know, maybe. I said, do me a favor, read the first 3 paragraphs in the introduction. She read it. She goes, you know what? I'll read it. I'll read it from cover to cover. I said, fine, it's your gift. It's a way to share the gospel. It's a way to revolutionize our lives and kind of, be out there for us. So Love God, Hate Church. Uplift TV will show you how to get copies of this. So Shelby, thank you for sharing your life and passion with us today. For more information on the book, visit uplifttv.com or call the number on your screen. Order a copy of Love God, Hate Church for yourself, a second copy for a friend or family member, a 4th copy, a 10th copy. Buy a box. Thank you for watching today. Join us next time for more inspirational stories of faith. Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Moore. I'm a businessman in Dallas, Texas, and author of the book, Love God, Hate Church. Did you know that 85% of millennials that were believers, Christians, that were going to church in high school, by the time they hit their mid-20s, have left the institution? That's why I wrote this book. It's to get them back to understand they haven't left God. This book is about God's unconditional love and mercy and grace and forgiveness and acceptance, irrespective if we're in the building or not. Give it to your friends. Read it for yourself. It will change what you believe about God, and it will change your life. Love God, Hate Church.
Mike Moore's Love God, Hate Church book is available for your donation of $20 to Uplift TV. Go to upliftoffer.com or call 844-7-UPLIFT. That's 844-787-5438 or order at upliftoffer.com.